orbital displacement occurred exactly 1:20 a.m. in 0 seconds!
Ah, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, Doc, you disintegrated Einstein.
Calm down, Marty. I didn't disintegrate anything. The molecular structure of both Einstein and the car are completely intact.
Where the hell are they?
The appropriate question is, when the hell are they? You see, Einstein has just become the world's first time traveler. I sent him into the future. 1 minute into the future, to be exact. And precisely 1:21 a.m. in 0 seconds, we shall catch up with him at the time machine.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
A long, long time ago. Actually, it was only 4 years ago, that year 2021. I thought of a podcast idea. It was so much fun that first year that I figured I would do it again. The next 2 years I did the sequels. Compared to the first, there are no equals. The fourth year, as you all know, was that silly cartoon show. And when March 31st arrived, I wouldn't say I almost cried, but I thought it best to decide to say my last goodbye. But I lied about Marchy McFly, said that last year was the last year and that the show had died. But I found a way to keep the podcast alive, and I'm gonna call it Marchy McFIVE. I'm gonna call it Marchy McFIVE. Yeah, I lied about Marchy McFly, said that last year was the last year and that the show had died. But I found a way to keep that podcast alive, and I welcome you to Marchy McFive. Welcome back to another episode of Marchy McFly. It's like I never see that high note coming and I don't prepare for it, and thankfully this morning I was able to hit it okay. Yes, this morning, folks. It's Friday morning. Friday, March 7th, day 7 of Marchy McFly, day 7 of Marchy McFive, March 7th, 2025. It's 9 minutes to 9. 8:51 a.m. and it is cold out, so I've done my full FM weather and time update. As I may have mentioned yesterday, I have today off from work, so I wanted to get the show up and out to the masses, but instead I'm just going to get it up and out to the loyal listeners. I won't call them the masses, but I will say they are loyal, and I do appreciate everyone who finds this show and listens to it year after year. This is the podcast where you'll forget it happens. You'll forget there is an episode like, oh yeah, do they still make shows, this podcast? And then all of a sudden, boom, here's 30 new ones for you. That's how geek mentality rolls. And speaking of rolls, we have a car that's about to roll straight into two human beings in the middle of a mall parking lot. That's where we last left our two stars, our two major characters, our heroes. With today's episode, we are covering minutes, 21 minutes and 30 seconds to 25 minutes and 5 seconds. And I have to tell you, I went down a rabbit hole doing a little looking up some stuff before this episode. I went down a rabbit hole I was not expecting, or maybe a doggy hole. That sounds gross when you say it out loud. I went down a rabbit hole. Let's just leave it at that and pick up exactly where we left off with Doc revving that car engine up, revving it. And what I like is Marty's first instinct is to be like, I'm going to step a little bit to the right here. And Doc's look on his face, like he doesn't even say anything. He just looks at him like, what are you, crazy? And Marty's, notices him, and he just kind of gives a little look like, get closer, don't worry. And the thankfully this remote works perfectly because he is able to rev this engine like crazy, and yet that one little switch is what allows the car to not move yet, and until he actually hits it at 65 miles an hour. So it has to now get from 65 miles an hour to 88 miles an hour, which is 23 miles. It needs to accelerate by 23 miles. Now, how far does a car need to go to get from 65 to 88, especially a DeLorean? This is where Doc is a genius, because I did a little Googling and I couldn't find anything. It was like, there's no precise way at all. There's so many factors. There's no precise way. And I couldn't even get a estimate. So I'm thinking Doc obviously realized, okay, the parking lot is flat. This is the humidity. This is the weather. This is the weather report for this day. Everything is ideal for a car to speed directly at me and this child with a living being in it that has no idea what's going on. Like, he obviously planned all of this out because when you think about it, he did not need to do it this way, right? Like, Doc's a bit of a peacock. Like, he needs to strut around and really needs to show off. Like, he could have taken the car and he could have just driven it. He could have done the remote control and just had it drive, in the parking lot. He could have set up the camera on a tripod. He could have driven it himself and not risked his dog's life if he really believed in his creation. But I guess he wouldn't have been able to. No, he could have. He could have set a clock outside the car. Maybe did a time travel of 2 minutes. But you didn't want to do it too much, because the longer you wait, the more of a chance that something could be walking by, showing up that doesn't know what's going on, investigating what's going on, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're run over by a giant steel car. But at the very least, he could have been like, all right, Marty, set up the camera on the tripod. Now let's go over here where it's safe and watch this. And everything would have been the same, except Doc's, he's a bit of he's flamboyant. He wants to show off. He wants to brag. He wants to get the shot. He wants the clicks. Like, this is something that you'd see a TikTok challenge or an Instagram or something, social media related in the future. It's like, oh, this kid was run over because he was trying to do the DeLorean challenge, where a DeLorean disappears at 88 miles per hour. Some crazy thing like that. He's looking for the most dramatic shot he can get, and that is by risking the life of his young assistant, Martin McFly. But it works. In one of the more iconic shots in film history, I'd still say, even though the special effects green screen aspect of it doesn't quite hold up as it would nowadays, the DeLorean screams right at them at 88 miles per hour. Sparks fly, lights go crazy, and the car disappears in a blaze of glory, leaving two fiery strips of tire marks underneath Marty and Doc. And that shot of both of them turning around and looking in the exact opposite direction at the exact same time is just another iconic moment. Never mind, first the fire, then there's so many iconic moments in these 2 days that, it's just like when people think Back to the Future, these are the shots they show. They'll either show this shot or they'll show the clock tower moments. But again, that's like weeks away. But this is a big, huge moment in Back to the Future. and it's just done perfectly. Marty is completely confused what's going on, and Doc is like beside himself with excitement because it worked. It worked. 88 miles per hour. I don't know why he said 88 miles per hour, but I think maybe just because it looks cool and it's alliterative and it just sounds right. So he's like, that's what I'll do. Or possibly it's like we need enough electricity and enough heat, and the minimum the car can do to provide that is 88 miles per hour. So that's what I'm banking on. Obviously, Doc did the calculations. If he didn't do the calculations, he'd be dead. Einstein would be dead. Marty would be dead. And everyone in Hill Valley would be thoroughly confused. But it worked. And we get more like iconic lines. This scene is chock full of iconic lines. First, we got 88 miles per hour. First, we got, I guess the last one. Well, this scene, even though it was the last segment, had the, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour. Then we got the 88 miles per hour. What did I tell you? And Marty looks thoroughly confused. You disintegrated Einstein. He's like, everything's fine. Where the hell are they? The important question is, when in the hell are they? Einstein has become the world's first time traveler. Einstein the dog. And this is where I went down a rabbit hole that I was not expecting. I was like, well, what is Einstein's, what else has he done? Because a lot of the times you'll see that animal performers in movies are in additional things. So I looked up Einstein, the dog, and on IMDb, he is named OJ. However, if you go to the Back to the Future wiki, his name is Tiger. Now, I would have thought, okay, you know what? IMDb is wrong here. It's obviously the dog's name is Tiger. That makes more sense. But then I did a little more digging. So on the Futurepedia page, it says Tiger. Tiger was trained by animal trainer Richard Calkins. However, for Back to the Future, Tiger was trained by Richard Calkins. Now, this is where things get kind of confusing because it says Tiger here, and he was too old to be in parts 2 and parts 3. And at that point, he was replaced by Freddy. So I think, okay, the Futurepedia has these details. That makes sense. That's fine. Then I type in OJ, Back to the Future, dog, Einstein. I just kind of search and I find some Facebook posts. Now, in these Facebook posts, there is someone by the name of Robert Weatherwax. And he posts a picture from 2018. He posts a picture of Doc and Einstein in this scene. And he writes, my dad's dog, OJ, in the original Back to the Future. The only Back to the Future with a Weatherwax trained dog. Gary Giro, Birds and Animals Unlimited, did the subsequent films with inferior dogs. So this Weatherwax is throwing out some shade to Gary Giro and his Birds and Animals Unlimited. He then wrote in a reply to someone's comment, he goes, yeah, all I know is that after this, Gary Giro did the sequels. Dad didn't like Zemeckis. The feeling was mutual. My dad was also working OJ on Who's the Boss. So I don't see any Who's the Boss reference on OJ the dog's IMDb page, but I did type in Who's the Boss dog, and I see that Mona got a dog early on, and it definitely looks exactly like Einstein. So I'm guessing that that's OJ the dog, who I don't know why they call him Tiger in the Wikipedia. I don't know where that came from. I went to the credits just to double check the actual movie. I didn't see any dog listed. Then there's another post that he wrote in 2024, and it shows his dad. This is Robert Weatherwax, his dad, Bob Weatherwax, and I guess his grandfather was Rudd Weatherwax, and they did dog training and animal training for years. I guess it runs in the family. It has a picture of an older guy with a dog that looks much like Einstein, Dad, and OJ promoting Back to the Future in 1985 at Universal Studios. I named OJ after the star running back before it became a bad thing. Dad later referred to him as Orange Juice. So I have no idea where Tiger came from. My only thought is he looks like Tiger the dog in... Wasn't Tiger the dog in the Brady Bunch kind of the same looking dog? So I'm going to say that the Wikipedia is wrong. Now you have to... It's not a Wikipedia page. I should say the Futurepedia page is incorrect. Or they had different names. Like maybe they named him OJ after the fact. Maybe he was Tiger at the time and then they brought him home and I'm going to name him OJ now. That seems to make more sense. You know, this guy did make these comments only a few months ago. So I thought about reaching out, commenting just to get clarification, but I don't know because he seems a little feisty as far as talking about and responding to things on Facebook. You know, he didn't like Zemeckis and the feeling was mutual. So I guess Zemeckis didn't like this guy. Now, here's the thing. I went to the IMDb and it does have Richard Calkins listed as the animal trainer, but it also does have Robert Weatherwax listed as additional crew. Now, this Robert Weatherwax, he just passed away in 2024. He was additional crew in Dennis the Menace, 1993, not to be confused with the television movie Dennis the Menace from 1987 that friggin' OJ, Einstein, Tiger, whatever you want to call him, was also in. He was in a couple things. He was in a Buddy Epson dog sled movie, Back to the Future, Dennis the Menace, Out of This World, like a syndicated sitcom where the girl had superpowers. You know, it was like, or not super, well, she had powers, but she was an alien. And I guess that OJ, Tiger, Einstein played Buster in one episode of that almost forgotten television show. Except if you ever listen to Remember That Show, they talked about it. Now, where was I? Oh, so this guy, I didn't want to respond to him on Facebook because someone wrote, was your dad referring to the dog or the man as Orange Juice? So this person's asking, do you call O.J. Simpson's Orange Juice? Okay, my goodness. Robert wrote back, the dog. He couldn't call him OJ after the trial. In fact, Google will never list his real name. I think they called him Fluffy or something. Cancel culture is wonderful, isn't it? So he's blaming cancel culture, because OJ allegedly did some things. He was found. I'm not here to defend OJ. OJ killed people. And he got away with it pretty much. And they changed the name, OJ McDuffie didn't change his name, but he was named after, the juice. So they started calling him Orange Juice, which again, not that far off. You could have just called him, I don't know, Tiger. And I like that Google, they're saying now Google, you can't even find OJ, the dog. I'm going to type OJ dog Back to the Future. I'm going to Google it right now. And it pops up in the Back to the Future dog, OJ. I'll put a period and period. And I'll put it in quotes, meaning OJ dog Back to the Future. Because you can't Google it according to Robert Weatherwax. And, well, here's the thing. The first two things that pop up on my Google are his Facebook responses. And then, yeah, it doesn't quite... and it really doesn't come up as the dog being named OJ. Now, if I do quotes, Tiger, dog Back to the Future, we get those Wikipedia pages. We get other... See, there's other things that say, wait a minute. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now this, I've just found something live. The Back to the Future blog article on Einstein indicates that the dog in the first film, was replaced in the second film. Yeah, we know that. However, further investigation, this is on something called movies.stackexchange.com. Further investigation. People, I'm finding this out exactly at the same time as you. Prompted by Christy Koss's answer below. And this article from the LA Times in 1986 strongly suggests that the original Einstein was played by two different dogs. Tiger, trained by Richard Calkins, and another dog named OJ, trained by Bob Weatherwax. Notably, the owners for both of the dogs share a film credit as animal handlers. It says additional crew on the... Okay, this is wild. I'm going to say that someone says, no, the dog was named OJ. This is like the I need to get to the bottom of this, or I don't, or I just need to forget about it forever. But there's an article. Where's the article go? LA Times. The LA Times from November 13th, 1986. I'm going to type in Einstein. And it says, a star among top dogs. At the couple's 3-acre home, where most of the 27 dogs live in outdoor kennels, Lassie has the run of the house and understandably is the envy of the others. After all, among them are OJ, a sheepdog who played Einstein in Back to the Future, and who is now in Canada portraying an old Yeller type in the movie Stone Fox, and Corky, a Maltese who deserted Nick Nolte in the first Down and Out in Beverly Hills, in the film Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
You made it.
Yeah.
That mentions...
Welcome to my latest experiment. This is
What
the big
does it-
one. The
that
one
just
I've been waiting
mentions
for all my
OJ.
life.
So there's an
Well,
article
it's a DeLorean,
in
right?
1986 from the LA Times specifically talking about OJ.
is that-
I'm going to go with OJ is the dog or a dog.
Good evening.
Einstein
I'm Dr.
wasn't in
Emmett
it
Brown.
this
I'm standing on
now.
the parking lot at Twin Pines Mall.
Wait a second.
It's Saturday
Could
morning, October
Tiger
26,
have been
1985 at
Copernicus
1:18 a.m.
back in
And this is temporal
1950?
experiment
Because
number
there are
one.
two dogs in this movie. It's not the same dog. First of all, I thought, oh, there's a younger Einstein, but dogs, don't live 30 years. I don't even like saying that out loud. But maybe OJ is Einstein and Tiger is the other dog that never really gets named. So no one knows it's Copernicus until the second film. But anyway, that's like, we just went down a rabbit hole together. That was pretty exciting. So anyway, the car disappeared, and I love that Doc's taking calculations, and he's like, no, he became the first time traveler, and if you're going to make a time machine, why not do it with some style? And he also mentions though that the stainless steel body actually does help. It aids in the flex disperal or something he was saying, but then he realizes a minute went by. Again, Doc, he calculates, but he doesn't plan for safety all that much. They're standing in the position where the car is going to come out. They moved exactly to where it was going to be. Thankfully, he shoves Marty out of the way just as the DeLorean comes to a complete stop. And I don't know, I think actually Doc had to stop it. He grabbed the remote. You see him holding the remote and breaking it because there was no reason the car would stop. It's driving. The remote control, it's instantaneous for him, and you think it would keep going. Thankfully, Doc reacted with cat-like agility, and you see him holding the remote. You see Marty looking at the remote, and he's just like, oh my God, the look of panic on his face. But then they kind of look at each other, and Doc's not sure what to expect. The car is covered in ice, and it lets off this big pluff of steam. I love that of course, they remembered to keep the license plate off of it since it fell off in the original timeline. So wait a minute. Where the original timeline just changed for 1 minute. Einstein is Einstein technically in a new timeline? Not really, because he didn't change anything. But he did because he invented time travel. Oh man, I love the nerdiness of things. In the complete, unnecessary overanalyzation of things. Sometimes I think it's quite fun. Doc has this beautiful big smile on his face, but he's a little freaked out when the steam lets out. He's not quite sure what to think. He's like, okay, when I open that door, is Einstein going to be okay? Because he has this not panicked, but apprehensive look on his face. Marty stays way in the back. He's like, I'll be back here. But he has this look of concern, and he's like, okay, am I going to open this door and see my dog, Einstein, or am I going to just open it up and just a puddle's going to pour out? A puddle of dog is just going to pour out all over the mall parking lot. But before he opens the door, he finds out that it is damn cold. I would have been cool if it was hot, but then all that ice, I don't know what that ice would have been. I don't know why Marty would have thought it's ice, but it is damn cold. And then he's able to open up the car door.
Einstein, you little devil! Einstein's clock is exactly 1 minute behind mine and still ticking!
He's all right.
He's fine! And he's completely unaware that anything happened. As far as he's concerned, the trip was instantaneous. That's why his watch is exactly 1 minute behind mine. He skipped over that minute to instantly arrive at this moment in time. Come here. I'll show you how it works. All right. First, you turn the time circuits on. This readout tells you where you're going, this one tells you where you are, this one tells you where you were. You input your destination time on this keypad. Say you want to see the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Or witness the birth of Christ.
And that is where our segment ends today, right at the witness the birth of Christ. And I love that they put in December 25th, 0000. Yes. Jesus was born on Christmas, the first Christmas day, and witnessed the Declaration of Independence. But I always was fascinated by I think it was because early on I didn't understand it. I don't understand why the clocks are a minute different now. It is fairly simplified when you think about it. Doc and Einstein had clocks exactly the same, exactly synchronized. And when he sent him 1 minute into the future, exactly, all of that had to be exact. He had to leave exactly and come back exactly a minute later. Whatever time, because what if it took the car longer to speed up? By the time it got there, it was only 30 seconds. Doc and Marty would have been killed. So Einstein would have come back, then no one would have known the time travel existed, because the car would have rammed into the scientist and his ward, well, not his ward, but his young assistant, and that would be the end. They'd be like, what is all this stuff? And there's plutonium, and they accidentally mishandle the plutonium, let off a giant explosion, and it leads to World War III. That's what could have happened if Doc didn't calculate everything perfectly. But I love that Einstein was quick. He just went right. He never changed. He just drove right to the minute later. And for everyone else, we had to wait. So everyone else had to wait a minute. He skipped over that minute, and now it's still syncing. It's just that his clock is off a minute. So Einstein is going to loses a minute, then he'll never get back. Much like daylight savings this weekend, where we're losing an hour that we will never get back, I guess, until the fall. I don't know how it works. They tell me you're going to lose an hour. Well, who cares? I'm always like, who cares? It's going to be lighter at night. Then I feel like I gained an hour, because now I'll be out walking or doing more, or taking my dog out, and it's not the middle of the night. It doesn't feel like it's dark and depressing at 5 o'clock. You say I lose an hour. I say I gained some sunshine. So that is the end of this segment. I love that Doc says, let's show you how it works. And he doesn't really show you how it works. Like, turn the time circuits on. That's it. That's how it works. Like, we never get the full scientific explanation of what is happening, why it's happening, how it's happening. And you know what? We don't need it. This is a 1985 sci-fi comedy. We don't need the full scientific explanation. We don't need to know how the flux capacitor fluxes. In fact, for years, I thought it was the flex capacitor, and I still have to sometimes think about making sure I'm saying flux capacitor. I just thought it flexed. They flexed time, it bent time. I didn't know. We don't need to know what the time circuits do. We just know that digital display is iconic. So I've used iconic so many times. You know why? Because this friggin' movie's iconic. And there, Einstein, beautiful Einstein, whether you're OJ or Tiger, you'll always be Einstein to me, and you are the world's first time traveler. And for that, I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen next. We'll have to wait until tomorrow to see what happens next, but I'm excited, aren't you? But now we know time travel is possible. We know that Doc Brown invented it, or at least discovered it and invented how to, because time travel as a concept is a thing. Like, you can't invent time travel, but you can invent how to harness it and how to experience it. Let's put it that way. That's what I like to, I'll say. He didn't invent time travel. He invented the way to travel through time. I guess, sure, yeah. But hey, 1 minute, no big deal. Nothing crazy can happen when you only time travel 1 minute and you put your dog in there. You risk your friggin' dog's life, Doc. But thankfully, everyone's safe, everyone's fine, everyone's happy, everything's going to be just fine. Doc's going to go travel into the future, and life goes on, and Marty, gets to find out exactly what happens to him years from now in the future. And believe me, when we find out what that is, it's not that exciting. So that's it. I am done. But I just thought of something today. My buddy Chris, co-host of Fine Movies, Fine Spirits, and frequent co-host of Geek Mentality. He's been on Joggist. He's been on multiple episodes of sitcom All Ye Faithful, and he's been on Marchy McFly. I bring up Joggist for a reason. He in our group text, he wrote that on August 29th, I think it's August 29th, Jaws will be celebrating its 50th anniversary. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be a prime time to bring back the classic, bring back the monthly celebration that started it all? There would be no Marchy McFly if there was no Joggist. So I'm announcing today that, because I just thought of it today, thanks to Chris, that August 2025 is the Golden Joggist. Joggist returns, Golden Joggist, celebrating 50 years of Jaws. And I'm going to pretty much, what you're seeing here on Marchy McFive is, just take that as an idea. This is kind of the model for what Golden Joggist will be. But I'm not going to speak anything more about it, because guess what? I literally don't know anything else. I just came up with it. I texted Chris this idea, and it's happening. All I have to do is text, make up my mind, it's happening, then later figure out how the hell to do it. That's kind of how I also work. Someone at work says, can you do this and do that and do this? I'll say, yes. And then I go, okay, now how do I do that? And that's part of the fun. And that's the fun with the podcasting too. Say you're going to do it, figure out a way to do it, and then you do it. If people listen, awesome. If they don't, hey, you still had fun doing it. But you guys listen, you guys found it, and for that, I am forever appreciative. That's it, I'm done. I am done. So listen, you can find me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. You can find the Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel is Fans Not Experts. And the website is fansnotexperts.com. I saw Eric drive by today, so I got to hopefully get him on the show next week. But until then, we still have tomorrow. We still have Sunday. It is so windy outside right now. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is disgustingly windy out. So anyway, we still have the weekend to get through, the freaking weekend. And I'm about to have me some fun talking more Back to the Future with you, my friends. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And here is my theme song.
This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.